So one of the thing which is coming very frequently in our product owner space, as I spoke about product owner management, like how do we differentiate? Should I go for CSPO certificate or should I go for POPM certificate? Now that is something becoming a kind of a thing. How can one take a decision? So what is common? Both are talking about some elements like how to explore user stories, how to split the user stories, how to add acceptance criteria to it, what is definition of done. Various the SAFe recommends one prioritization process, prioritization of a backlog at team level. So these things are common. You go for CSPO, you go for POPM, you both training will cover that. Now, what is unique in a POPM certificate is that it sees the product owner role, the whole idea of the training of a product owner role in the context of SAFe. So a good amount of education is focused on how a product owner collaborate with product management. What are the overlapping areas? How do you take inputs? How do you work as a one team? So that may not come in a product owner CSPO certificate, because CSPO certificate is meant for you playing a product owner role, you prioritizing the product backlog as a final caller, and giving giving those priorities to rest of the people to work with. Yeah, that's something as a default you can see. But here the role is different, and there is a close collaboration with the product management is needed. So even though it's all about incremental elicitation of the requirement, working with the team to get those requirements done, and acting as a customer, as a user to the team, so that they get the whole business intent. So this part is common, but doing in a SAFe context, that is a differentiator in case of SAFe POPM program. So because of that differentiator, a good amount of training goes around PI planning meeting. So we made the PI planning meeting videos where it makes the attendee understand how this whole thing is triggered with the help of PI planning meeting. So what a product owner is expected to do in a PI planning meeting, what kind of a preparation and content readiness the product owner should do before coming to a PI planning meeting, and how the content and the objective creation inside the PI planning meeting takes an input, and what role a product owner play inside the PI planning meeting. And then those inputs need to be executed, worked upon incrementally when you are working in the iterations. So this whole idea of this whole piece will be not covered if you are doing CSPO class. Now, which might be a right thing or good thing also for you, because if you are not working in a SAFe context, so for example, you just want to understand the product owner role, you just want to understand how the overall product visioning, customer understanding, user stories, and acceptance criteria and backlog prioritization and these things works out. Yeah, that's the whole idea you are focusing on. Then attending a CSPO training is a good idea, because if you go for a POPM class, you will be spending good time in understanding PI planning meeting, which you may never do, yeah, if you are not working in a SAFe context. So the POPM class is primarily is a good class for a product owners who are working in a SAFe context. Now, if you are working in a SAFe context, assuming, but you might have done some other SAFe class, say you have done leading SAFe class, so you understand what whole things works, then doing CSPO or POPM more or less will be the same thing for you, because you have a fair understanding of how SAFe operates, you have a fair understanding of what is my role and responsibility, and you want to understand the skills which are needed for incremental requirement elicitation, working with the development team, slicing the big items into small items, and getting things done in a incremental and iterative way. So that's something which is good enough for your CSPO class. So depends where you are working or where you aspire to work. Even if you aspire to work in a SAFe context, then only doing CSPO will miss the whole meeting and those context around that particular thing. Yeah. So that's one input. Now, many times people also ask, Will I learn product management by doing these trainings? So my personal take is that yes, these training covers part of product management, but good part of these trainings are framework oriented also. So how you do things, which meeting is for what, how do you collaborate with other stakeholder, how, what are the prioritization techniques. So these things are also covered in those. So first it is a short, like 2 days class both, and then there is some content which are around the framework part of it. So uh, ability to create the ideas and relate to it and understand the customers and understand the domain and then come to a user requirement, that much focus or skill development may not happen in those 2 days alone. You can get a sufficient amount of seeds which you can apply, and then you need to work on understanding how possibly your customer might want to interact with a system which you are proposing. So that's something which is a work in progress. So this is something I can say when it comes to exploring SAFe POPM as well as CSPO classes. So it's difficult to say which one is good or which one is bad. It's a context dependent, and who should do what, that is something I try to explain here.